Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityaṁ bhāgavata-sevayā Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Durlabhamanasho Deho Dehinam Shanabhangurai Tatrapi Durlabham Manye Vaikuntha Priyadarshinaha Urve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Namami Damodara Pada Pankajam Karomi Damodara Pujanam Sada Vadami Damodara Nama Nirmalam Smarami Damodara Lila Sundaram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, dear worshipable devotees, for taking out your valuable time to read here Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in the association of devotees. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Katha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantastoya Bhadrani Vidayanti Suhatsitam Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Koi Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Hare Krishna. So we are reading Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 24, the last chapter of Canto 9, and we were discussing the descendants of Sri Vasudeva Maharaj. And we discussed the birth of the Supreme Lord as well. That's the title of the chapter, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we covered till text number 56, which is similar to the 4.7 of Bhagavad Gita. Now we'll move on to understand the reasons for Krishna's appearance. Text number 57. Nahyasya janmano hetu karmano va mahipate atma mayam vinishasya parasya drishtur atmanaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. O King Parikshit, but for the Lord's personal desire, there is no cause for his appearance, disappearance, or activities. As the Super Soul, he knows everything. Consequently, there is no cause that affects him, not even the results of fruitive activities. Purport. This verse points out the difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and an ordinary living being. An ordinary living being receives a particular type of body according to his past activities. Karmana deva netrena jantur deho apataye. Deho apataye. A living being is never independent and can never appear independently. Rather, one is forced to accept a body imposed upon him by Maya according to his past karma. As explained in the Bhagavad Gita 1861, the yantra aruni mayaya. The body is a kind of machine created and offered to the living entity by the material energy under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity must accept a particular type of body awarded to him by Maya, the material energy, according to his karma. One cannot independently say, give me a body like this, or give me a body like that. One must accept whatever body is offered by the material energy. This is the position of the ordinary living being. When Krishna descends, however, he does so out of his merciful compassion for the fallen souls. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. The Supreme Personality, the Supreme Lord is not forced to appear. Indeed, no one is subject to force. No one can subject to force for, no one can subject him to force, for he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is under his control and he is not under the control of anyone else. Foolish people who, because of a poor fund of knowledge, think that one can equal Krishna or become Krishna are condemned in every way. No one can equal or surpass Krishna, who is therefore described as Asamordhava. According to Vishwakosha Dictionary, the word Maya is used in the sense of false pride, and so also is in the sense of compassion. For an ordinary living being, the body in which he appears is his punishment, as the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 7.14, Vaiviyesha gunamai mama maya duratyaya. The divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is very difficult to overcome. But when Krishna comes, the word Maya refers to his compassion or mercy upon the devotees and fallen souls. By his potency, the Lord can deliver everyone, whether sinful or pious. Hare Krishna. So, quite important verse here, text number 57. We're discussed one verse, basically. The general reason for Krishna's to appear was to re-establish dharma and to destroy adharma. That was the general reason. But more important is to show his mercy. To show his mercy upon all of us. He is not bound. That's the main difference what is highlighting here. We are product of our karma. The actions and have a reaction. Every action is an equal and opposite reaction, which we discussed. And that's the law of karma. As we sow, so shall we reap. If we do good actions, then we'll get good body. If we do bad actions, we'll get bad body, heaven, hell, all this cycle. We all know that very well. So, but is that equation applicable to the Supreme Lord as well? The answer is no. Because he is above the three modes of material nature. He is referred to, one of the words is nirguna. That means he is transcendental to all these gunam or the Maya Shakti. Mama Maya. Mama Maya means his Maya or his energy, which bounds all of us. Like how many of us chose, I want to be born in a certain set of parents, Mr. and Mrs. whatever our parents' name, or the city we want to be born, or the kind of financial economic status we want to be born in. No one chose that. Whatever, because of the past prarabdha, karma, we got what we got. And because of whatever actions we do now, we will get what we will get. But for Krishna, that is not true. He chooses his parents. He chooses where he wants to be born. Which shows that he is not an ordinary jiva. He is the Parama Purusha. And why does he appear? There is no cause for his appearance in the sense that we discussed. There is no he's not bound in the cycle of birth and death. What is our cause for getting birth? Karma. Bad karma, good karma. But he is above all that. Everyone is under his control, and he is not under the control of anyone else. Very, very important line here from the purport. No one can subject him to force, for he is the Supreme Lord. Abhigya Swarat. We are all dependent. Krishna is the fully independent. So, a lot of words are used, a lot of points made, which come to the same conclusion that that Krishna is, so therefore whatever he does is transcendental. Our activities are primarily, for a conditioned soul, the activities he or she performs is primarily because of the different modes they are in. Sometimes the mode of goodness is prominent and one feels charitable, going yoga, going to temple, going to some walk. Sometimes mode of passion, greed is prominent, laziness, ignorance, etc. So, with that, we will move on to the next verse, unless someone has additions here in text 57. Anyone? Okay, we'll move on to 58, which is also a very important verse. Wants to read. It's a long purport, so maybe we'll split in like 2 parts. So someone can start. That's a beautiful piece.
Krishna devotees, Tandatranam, Krishna Śrīla Prabhupada, text number 58. Yanmaya cheti chestitam pumsa sthitya utpatte apyaya yahi anugraha stan nivratter atma labhya chesyate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead acts through his his material energy in this creation, maintenance and annihilation of this cosmic manifestation, just to deliver the living entity by his compassion and stop the living entity's birth, death, and duration of materialistic life. Thus, he enables the living being to return home back to Godhead. Purport. Materialistic men sometimes ask why God has created the material world for the suffering of the living entities. The material creation is certainly meant for the suffering of the conditioned souls, who are part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As confirmed by Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashyasthani Indriyani Prakriti Kashchit. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which includes the mind. All the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are as good as the Lord qualitatively, but quantitatively there is a great difference between them. For the Lord is unlimited, whereas the living entities are limited. Thus, the Lord possesses unlimited potency for pleasure, and the living entities have a limited pleasure potency. Anandamayo Bhasyat. Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. Both the Lord and the living entity, being quantitatively spirit soul, have the tendency for peaceful enjoyment. But when the part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead unfortunately wants to enjoy independently without Krishna, he is put into the material world, where he begins his life as Brahma and gradually degraded to the status of an ant or a worm in the stool. This is called Mana Shastani Indriyani Prakriti Kashyati. There is a great struggle of existence because of living entity conditioned by material nature, is under nature's full control. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha. Because of this limited knowledge, however, the living entity thinks he is enjoying in this material world. Mana shastani indriyani prakritistani karshati. He is actually under the full control of material nature, but still he thinks himself independent. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Even when he is elevated to speculative knowledge and tries to merge into the existing Brahman, the same disease continues. Arhu kracharena param padam tata patante adha. Bhagavatam 10-32. Even having attained this param padam, having merged into the impersonal Brahman, he falls again to this material world. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So you want me to stop, Prabhu, here?
Sure, you want to share your thoughts still here?
Sure, Prabhuji, yeah. This is wonderful perfect translation, of course, Prabhuji. So here, we can see that Srila Prabhupada clearly explains about, how the living entities in this world, thinks themselves as the doers, but actually they are doing everything under Maya's control, which is Krishna's energy. It's like we are in the jail, but the people in the jail don't understand that they eat, they sleep, they do everything. They think that they are free, but they don't know that they are in the jail. And also Prabhupada explains how everybody of us, every living entity is part and parcels of Lord Krishna, but we have forgotten our real father, and we are actually getting bewildered every time. So here Prabhupada says that everybody of us who have come to this world had become Brahma once, and then we degraded like that. So we can see that, however, but still we think that we are enjoying this material world. Even Prabhupada also explains that we have, even when once becomes liberated in the impersonal Brahman stage, even then there is a very, very good chance of falling down in this material world. So the only way for is taking the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and do unalloyed bhakti, ananya bhakti to Lord Krishna. That's my understanding. Please add Hare Krishna. Then we pray.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Let's read the rest of the purport. Raghu Prabhu, you want to read the rest of the purport?
Thank you. Yes, I can read. Hare Krishna. In this way, the conditioned soul undergoes a great struggle for existence in this material world, and therefore the Lord, out of compassion for him, appears in this world and instructs him. Thus the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 4.7, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajami aham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. The real dharma is to surrender unto Krishna, but the rebellious living entity, instead of surrendering to Krishna, engages in adharma, in a struggle for existence to become like Krishna. Therefore, out of compassion, Krishna creates this material world to give the living entity a chance to understand his real position. Bhagavad Gita and similar Vedic literatures are presented so the living being may understand his relationship with Krishna. Vedescha sarver aham eva vedayaha Bhagavatam 15, no, Bhagavad Gita 15:15. All these Vedic literatures are meant to enable the human being to understand what he hears, what his actual position is, and what his relationship is with Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Brahma Jignasa. Even conditioned soul, every conditioned soul is struggling, but human life provides the best chance for him to understand his position. Therefore, this verse says, Anugrahas tan nivrittehe, indicating that the false life of repeated birth and death must be stopped and the conditioned soul should be educated. This is the purpose of the creation. The creation does not arise whimsically as atheistic men think. Astayam apristaham te jagatu ahur anishwaram apraspara sambhutam kim anya Krishna haitukam. They say that the world is unreal, but there is no foundation and that there is no God in control. It is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. Bhagavad Gita 16:8. Atheistic rascals think that there is no God and that the creation has taken place by chance, just as a man and woman meet by chance and the woman becomes pregnant and gives birth to a child. Actually, however, this is not the fact. The fact is that there is a purpose for this creation, to give the conditioned soul a chance to return to his original consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and then return home back to Godhead and be completely happy in the spiritual world. In the material world, the conditioned soul is given a chance to satisfy his senses, but at the same time, he is informed by Vedic knowledge that this material world is not his actual place for happiness. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosana darshanam. Bhagavad Gita 13:9. One must stop the repetition of birth and death. Every human being, therefore, should take advantage of this creation by understanding Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, and in this way return home back to Godhead. So I think one thing I'm just continuing. It's a long purport, but here the conditioned soul thinks that he is enjoying, but really he's going through a repeated birth and death, but he doesn't realize that. And one of the things that's the important thing that's said here is that the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, the Vedas are all instructions to help us understand what this is all about. And so we are fortunate that we are reading all this to get some idea of what it's all about. But if you don't do that at all, then you just go about your life the regular way and associating every happiness and sorrow with the way life becomes, or enjoying whenever you're happy and so on, and blaming others when things go wrong, for instance. So those are a few things. There's a lot of points here, so I'll let you summarize. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. What if a child in his youth becomes rebellious of the father, kind father, noble father, wealthy father, opulent father, with noble character, and the child says, no, I don't want to be with you. I just want to be on my own and show the world that I'm something. I'm also something. The father will try to explain, my dear child, This is actually a nice story in this regard, so we'll go with the story. There was a very wealthy zamindar, very noble father, and he had a lot of wealth, name, fame, recognition, righteousness, values, dharma with him. He was very caring, loving, kind towards all his children as well, and to the society as well. And everyone knew him in the society, in the village. But his young son, when he got in his late teens, he thought, let me stand on my own, right? I don't have my personal identity. I'm known with my father. Oh, the son of Mr. So and so. I want to be on my own. I want to enjoy on my own. He said, Father, kindly give me my share of wealth and I want to go to the city and hang out. The father tried to explain, my dear child, you will suffer a lot. Please don't go. You will have a hard time there. Material world, prakriti sthani karshati, outside it's very hard. You are so happy, you have everything here. We are all happy, everything is good. And why you want to go there? So, he said, no, nothing. I want to be independent. I want to be the enjoyer. The father didn't really want, but ultimately didn't want forced love. Said, okay, so be it. Go. He got a handsome amount of money and went to the city. And guess what? A lot of so-called friends were there with him. Friends mingle when pockets jingle. He had a lot of so-called friends. He would go to the bars, go to the casinos, and got so much so-called friends. Was living in hotels and 5 stars and whatnot. And gradually, the money started to deteriorate because he was not using it properly. And the so-called friends also started to deteriorate because he had no money to give them expensive gifts and treats and whatnot. Now he came to the point that he didn't have a roof on his head because he misutilized the freedom given to him and the opportunity given to him. And now what will he do? He thought, let me work somewhere to get some money, at least feed myself. He had to practically beg for food, beg for shelter. And he did not have a lot of skills either to do some job or something. So there was a job vacancy in a pig farm. So the owner said, well, I don't have a lot of money, but I can give you something to eat. Probably the food I give these pigs, you can also share with them. You can live with them. And that's all I can offer you. Yeah. So he was living with the pigs under the same roof, eating the same food, and living life like a pig. Inside, he was feeling what I have chosen. I'm so miserable here. Just 2 years back, I was with my father, my family, my friends in the village. It was all so nice. The comfortable home, comfortable family, everything is good. But now I have chosen such a miserable life. I thought I will enjoy, but the so-called false enjoyment didn't last very long. I'm suffering. But he didn't even have the guts to go back. What face I will show to my father, to my family in there? Although the father was always waiting, my dear child, hopefully will come back, will understand that what is real home, he'll understand. So one day, a person from the village was visiting this town where the son was, and this person, this gentleman who was visiting, saw the son of the great zamindar, the king, practically the king of the village. Said, my dear child, what are you doing here? You're suffering like living like a pig. Why don't you get back to your father? Your father thinks of you every day. Your father is eagerly waiting for you to come back. We are suffering here like a pig, like a dog, eating the same food, living in the same place. Please go back, return back to him. He said, didn't really, the message didn't really go in. He wanted to, but he had a lot of kind of reluctance in his heart. He was feeling that, yes, I'm suffering, but still didn't really go. Few months passed, his situation further deteriorated. He was begging and living, like a beggar on the streets, no proper clothes, no proper food, no proper shelter, no proper clothing. Very miserable life. And finally, and he was often committing, mentally going through so much turmoil as well, thinking of all the wrong thoughts, depression. So physical torture, mental torture, everything was topsy-turvy. Totally opposite to how he was living in back home. And finally, one more person, a few days, few months back, few months later, one more person from the village was going and meeting. And he found this person on the streets like a beggar. He said, "My dear child," first he could not even recall. "My dear child, you're the same son of that father. Your father is living over there. He will be very happy to meet you. Please come back." And this time, since he was very repentant of his mistake, since he was in his heart crying, "Help me." So he thought, what worse can happen? What worse can happen? I'm at such a miserable state of my life. Thinking I'm enjoying, thinking I will enjoy, thinking I'll be happy, but I'm most miserable. He finally decided to go back to his father's place, his real home. And his father was so happy when he got to the news that my son is coming back. My son is coming back. He said, "Let's arrange a grand welcome and a grand feast which the entire village has never seen in their life." Why? Because my son is coming back. And when the father came out when the son was about at the outskirts of the village, the father came out to embrace the child, and they were weeping in tears out of love towards each other. So, my dear friends, this is story of our life. This father, this village is referred to as the kingdom of God, where we all are happy, but because of the desire, selfish, envious desire to enjoy independently, the person tries to explore on his own, and the father says, "You won't be happy." No. But says, "No, I know better. You don't know. I know better. So, okay, go. Enjoy in the material world." But what happens? Prakriti sthani karshati, lot of struggle, living like a dog, living like an animal, thinking I'm enjoying. But if one is honest with oneself, one will understand. I'm struggling so much. Every day is such a struggle. Every day is such a pain. Adi bhautik, adi atmik, adi devik. And ultimately, but that old age disease, life is so painful. And those representatives from the village are none other than the spiritual masters, the pure devotees, who don't belong to the town where the son was, who belong to the real home. They come, they are specially sent by the Father, the Supreme Lord, to try to bring back the conditioned souls who have forgotten their real home. You're struggling like a pig here, like a dog here. Go back. Your father is still waiting for you. Krishna is eagerly waiting for all the jivas. The story of Gopakumara, he faints. He is embracing Krishna. My child is coming back. My friend is coming back. My dear servant is coming back. There could be no more joy in his heart. And he does multiple arrangements. Out of his compassion, he comes himself. He sends his bona fide representatives like Srila Prabhupada and the great acharyas. The spiritual master is not an ordinary jiva. He is sent specially by the Supreme Lord to reclaim the conditioned souls back to the spiritual world. He does wonderful pastimes, like showing the trailer of the movie so that we can be attracted to the real movie of Krishna and continuously relish that movie in the spiritual world. So he shows glimpses, or he appears for some time, disappears, and shows his wonderful Leela, Vrindavan, Govardhan, etc., Damodara, to drown us in the ocean of bliss. What's that? The Ananda Kunde, Shokhosham Nimachandam Akhyapayantam. Iti Dikswalila Bhi Ananda Kunde. Showing these wonderful pastimes to drown in the real happiness, not the so-called happiness of wealth, of money, gold, jewels, cars, homes. This is just so-called happiness. This is not the real happiness. The real happiness is the Itidik Swalila Birananda, Krishna's name form qualities. He sends Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or he comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tomara loite ami hoino avatara, ami bina bandhuvare kiya che tomara. Jiva jago, Gaura Chandra bole, Kota Nidra Yao Maya Pisha Chira bole. Until what point you will think that this is the real thing? This asatyara satya korimani. This is asat. This is not your real home, but you foolish being, you think that this is your real satya. This is not the real home. So wake up from this illusion of Maya. I am your real friend. Ami bina bandhuvar kiya chetumar. Therefore I have come. Hari nama aushadhi nashibaro lagi. Inichi aushadhi maya nashibaro lagi. Hari nama mahamantra lao tume magi. I have come with this medicine to remove all your suffering. With this nectar, with this amrit of Krishna Katha, with the amrit of Bhagavatam, with the amrit of Bhagavad Gita. Now wake up, my child. Wake up. Jiva jago, Jiva jago. He comes, as we read yesterday, Maya Mugde Jive Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan Jivera Kripaya Koila Krishna Veda Puran. To give, to awaken the Jiva out of their ignorance, he gives Veda Puran, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all these scriptures. The only purpose is compassion. Compassion. We may forget the Lord, but the Lord does not forget. The child in the city forgot the father, thinking he's enjoying, but the father was constantly meditating upon. And there's actually a name of Krishna in the chapter, Canto 5. I don't recall now. It's one of the names of Krishna which comes in Canto 5, which means that he is constantly meditating upon how to reclaim the fallen souls back. And that is the transcendental anxiety of the pure devotees as well. Devotees also have anxiety. They are also constantly meditating on how to reclaim the fallen souls back, or how to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. This transcendental anxiety is very good anxiety. How can I help others what I have received, to share to the best of my abilities? How can I be an instrument of Prabhupada's compassion? How can I help others by sharing Bhagavad Gita, by sharing Krishna Prasad, by sharing the holy name, by sharing Bhagavatam, by inviting for programs, by giving chance to them for lamp offerings, so many ways, festivals and Janmashtami and so many things are there. Constantly meditating upon, constantly meditating. Therefore, there are so many festivals, there are so many, one after the other. Damodar, then the Gita Jayanti comes, and Narsimha Chaturdashi, Balram Purnima, Janmashtami, Radha Ashtami, Gaur Purnima. Why are they all, and Ekadashi, why are they all spread across throughout the year? So that we are constantly meditating upon Krishna ourselves and also thinking how can we distribute it to others. So all these are form of Krishna's compassion, as this verse is telling us. Why? Because the Lord loves. Even though we may forget him, but he loves us. So he's constantly meditating, showing his kripa shakti, his compassion, his anugrahatam nivritter. So this is the transcendental compassion of the Supreme Lord to help us through directly or indirectly through his different name, form, qualities, shastras. Is the only purpose the Lord comes for, one of the most important purpose. Any comments anyone has? Sorry for the elongated.
So Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So the thing is that we were in a spiritual world, right? And then we wanted to enjoy independently, and that's why we came down this material world that is made by Krishna. That's the right, Prabhuji? Understanding?
Yes,
so we have been in the spiritual. So, but in the Gita, in 15.6, Krishna telling that Yod Gartana Nivartante Tabdham Parabam Mama. That means no return from his abode. So we're already in his abode. Then how these two things are connected?
Yeah, this is a very tricky question, which I think has come multiple times in our forum and in other places as well. So this question is answered in multiple ways. So point number one, and Prabhupada was asked this question one time. Prabhupada replied that we should focus when the person is drowning, in the ocean, drowning in the ocean, and help is required. The main point is how to get out of that ocean. When the person gives like a rope or a tube, or, hey, hold this thing and you'll be out. So that person will not ask first, hey, how the hell I got inside it? Tell me first that. So that's how it's a proper response. At other places, it's also mentioned that there are spiritual world in the material world also, right? Which we have discussed, where Lord is Shirodakshai Vishnu, as he's present in Paramatma, and he's also present in the Shirodakshai Sagar. So the spiritual world in the material world. So that sometimes could be referred to at that place as well. So these are the two responses I have heard. And if anyone has more additions, please feel free to add to it. Is that Mataji or Kabir Prabhu or Rajdeep Prabhu, anyone wants to add or correct?
What is the second point you said? I didn't quite get the second point you said.
There is spiritual world in the material world also. So that's
okay. Got it.
the Vaikuntha planet in the like how there is like Lord Shiva is present in the Adi Shiva and it's secondary, even like different places, even for the demigods, right? There are different centers, so kind of that we can understand. Nandi Mataji or Prabir Prabhu, if anyone wants to add. Does that help, Prabhu? I don't know if that helps, but this is...
Yes, definitely, Prabhuji. We have to get out of this trouble first.
Yes.
Thank you.
And one more devotee says like, Doodh ka jala chhach bhi phuk phuk ke pita hai. Right? So it's for those who understand Hindi. It's like, having once we make a mistake, then we are extra careful of not repeating. Like if the point is, if we burn our tongue by drinking hot milk, next time we drink chach, buttermilk, we'll do we'll blow air so that it's not too hot. That's the literal meaning. Dudh ka jala chhach mein phuk phuk ke peeta hai. Chhach is like lassi or buttermilk. You'll blow air so it should not be cold. It should not too hot to burn my tongue. Looks similar. So, anyone else has other comments around it?
Haribol Prabhu. And our third example Prabhupada gives is that, it's like embassy. So if in US there's an Indian embassy, inside the embassy it's considered Indian rules are applicable. So Prabhupada said that like this ISKCON centers are the spiritual embassies. So they're in the material world, but inside the temples, then it's spiritual world. Back to you, Prabhu. Haribol. Dandavat pranam devotees.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
I have one question. So the
Yes.
thing is, which has been mentioned several times, that we are part and parcel of the Supreme, and we are all fragments of Him. So why did we break off in the first place? I mean, if we were fully satisfied and part of the whole, and we were actually enjoying that, why did we want to enjoy something else?
Yeah. This is a very tricky question. And in short, the reply is that in that kind of the embassy, there is minute free will, and somehow, now don't ask me how, somehow the jiva develops this tendency to be independent enjoyer out of envy. And that's shared. The root cause of all envy is envy to Krishna. And it's there also. I mean, someone will say, I don't envy God. I'm happy to see him happy. But there's a lot of envy around the God also. Some like why are they putting so much milk on him? They're making movies around it. Why are they offering him a very precious diamond necklace or crown? Well, the Queen of Victoria or the king or a multi-millionaire billionaire can wear an expensive pearl necklace. When the Supreme Lord wears, it's a problem. So the point is, again, now we have to focus again back to Vipul Prabhu's question. We have to focus in these situations and more on, and at the right time. See, some questions we have to. I was talking in the kids' class also. The request versus order. Some things we will understand even if the best of the answer someone gives. We won't be able to understand or assimilate that knowledge. So at the right time, right knowledge will be assimilated also. Once we become more qualified to understand those deeper questions, the very deeper questions, and we should not feel bewildered. We may get different responses also for this. We should not feel bewildered also. These are some of the tricky questions. But I think the point here you have to emphasize on what is to be done, and there is a sadhana bhakti process. And then it does not matter this world or that world. Your devotees are always happy. And then when they come, it is not out of envy. They come out of compassion. Like Prabhupada. Then they don't come out of karma. They come out of the Lord's arrangement. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's almost time. So, and these verses have long purport, so we don't want to rush through. So maybe tomorrow we will continue reading from the next verse. These are all very important verses.
Prabhuji,
Yes, sir.
can-
Please ask.
Prabhuji, just this is my question about people. Prabhuji asked that material world, there is a spiritual world. So can we think like, though it's real, not like can we think like that, but Brindavan, Govardhan Hills, those are, and Radharamanji, he never leave Brindavan. So still this Brindavan is considered a spiritual world, right, Prabhuji, in this material world, because Radharamanji is still there. So we do not have eyes to see, but they are still there. So it's considered a spiritual world, right? Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discovered that Vrindavan. So can we consider this as spiritual world in this material world?
Yes, all the holy places are certainly spiritual world. They are called Bhaumya Vrindavan. And they are, but the point is that they are also, part of this. They also appear and disappear. So, with this world, with this creation, and we know the story how Govardhan appeared, and how Yamuna appeared, and Krishna and Shri Radharani were discussing in the Goloka Vrindavan. They were discussing. So this Bhaumya Vrindavan, which is like a replica or expansion of that Goloka Vrindavan, appears and disappears as per the creation. So yes, absolutely, they are spiritual world, but it is also covered by the Yogamaya Shakti. So only those who have the right vision and the right mood of bhakti, they will be able to unreveal that. Otherwise, people will see dust, some pan stores, some cigarette shops also, some liquor shops also. All these one can see. Some buildings for sale, some golf courts also they are building. It's an apartment with golf course. If you go to Govardhan Paikar, there's a big banner. Buy apartment with golf course. Even now. So yeah, so one will see all that.
So, Prabhu, what is the meaning of the Brahmya? That means you're talking about the illusory, there's the same word?
Would you say Bhaumya?
Yeah, what is the meaning of Brahmya?
It is in this Bhutala, on that. Bhaumya. Prabir Prabhu, want to add comment? With Prabhu is our Dham Vasi in New Vrindavan, and then the Mataji, they live in New Vrindavan. New Vrindavan, right? Oh, New Raman Reti, sorry. New Raman Reti. Dham. Yeah, Dham Vasi. Because all Prabhupada's temples are Dham. Maybe it's not the position of Mataji. Okay, sorry, yeah. Yes, Prabhu, please, you were speaking something.
Prabhu, I just wanted to say that Bhoma Vrindavan means that the Golok Vrindavan is, in Bengali, it says aprakrita, means is beyond the prakrita. Aprakrita means, I mean, it's inconceivable. But Bhoma Vrindavan means it is within the three modes of the nature, because I mean Brahma Vrindavan, the devotees, we see that they can be under Adi Atmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Doibik. All these things are affecting there also, even though it is Krishna's replica of the Golok Vrindavan. That's the Bhomo. comes from the bhumi, and it means under the nature. That's little thought about that.
Thank you. Nice point. And the other is Nitya Vrindavan. Yeah. Goloka Vrindavan.
Just want to add, when you said Nitya Vrindavan, Prabhu, that's what actually, in Nitya Vrindavan, the pastimes are never ending. Like Mother Jashoda is feeding, just an example that Mother Jashoda is feeding Krishna. That pastime is happening and happening and happening, and it's Nitya. But even here in Bhoma Vrindavan, we see that pastime ended. Krishna completed his pastime and he left. I mean, the pure devotees, they can see the pastime. Like in Chaitanya Bhagavat, in 1, there is a verse there. It says, Oddapiyo সেই লীলা করে গোরা রায় কোন কোন ভাগ্যবানে দেখিবারে পায়. Still now in Mayapur, Mahaprabhu is doing his pastimes. He's doing his pastime in Srivas Pandits. But those who are fortunate souls, they can only have that darshan. This is like very inconceivable for us. Sorry.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. So, I know these are very big topics, and we may have more discussions. So maybe when some senior Vaishnavas join, like Bhagavan Prabhu or the senior Vaishnavas, we can ask them more. And clarify our doubts or concerns, thoughts. But I hope it was meaningful. So thank you for your time and discussion. We'll continue tomorrow. Grantra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana ki Jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhyo evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Pranam.